Hello and welcome. I am Cyril Stober. Reorientation. Now, there have been relentless calls for a change in the mindset of Nigerians regarding service to country, patriotism, and the preference for homegrown and homemade goods and services. Many, however, believe no concerted effort is being dedicated to achieving this, not by the leaders and not by the people. My guest today is a public affairs analyst. He comes with a background in many fields, but for a brief introduction, Obinnaya Uruagba holds a master's degree in international law and diplomacy and a PhD in diplomacy and international relations. Dr. Uruagba, thanks for joining us on One on One.
My pleasure being on set with the great Cyril Stober. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Reorientation, we say that, but the mere thought and concept of it suggests that there is something that is skewed, something not quite right, and therefore there's a need to take a step back and rejig it all together, doesn't it?
I agree with you. I think it was a great Chinua Achebe that said that if you do not know where the rain started beating you, you will not know where it stopped. You have to permit me, I grew up with my grandmother, so I speak a lot of proverbs. And someone said, if you're not careful, if you're not at alert, they'll carry you and pass your father's compound. What does that point to? What it points to is the fact that there were certain foundational things we were supposed to have known. My dad was a lecturer in the Albany School of Education in history of education, and he taught foundations of education. And I read a lot of his books. I borrowed history all through school, and this is what I found out. There were three levels of intelligence that the colonial masters were supposed to have taught the colonized people. Maybe because of the experience of the Lord Lugats in India, and where Mahatma Gandhi said, if you must drive a car, let it be an Indian-made car. If you must watch TV, let it be an Indian-made TV. And then they came up with the Hindustan and the president. The president talks about their TV, and the Hindustan, their car. And today, if you look at India, check most of the ICT firms, you find out that Indians are leading them because he made them to read. He said, they read like there is no tomorrow. When you do medical tourism today, where do we head up to? India. A lot of things happen in the world, and you see India being top of the range. It's foundational, sir. Education. What did they get right? Number one, the colonial masters were supposed to have taught the colonized people. One, academic intelligence. But what did we learn? What happened was that Sir Cyril, Obinnaya were in class, and if we attempted speaking Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and any language, we were flogged and accused of speaking vernacular. So we de-emphasized our own language, pushed it off. Someone said that Bature means push aside. And then we focused on the white man's language. Not a problem. Everyone has an agenda, an overriding self-interest. The interest of the colonizers was to come and bring in their own value system so they could control whatever happened in the environment where they colonized. Nothing bad. Next, but the tragedy of that academic intelligence and learning the language of the white man and de-emphasizing ours is that as I sit, my daughter Olaku is 13, my son is 10, and they struggle to speak Igbo. You will not understand until you understand that the Chinese teach their children in Mandarin. And no strong Taiwanese family watches TV in English in the United States. Fact, go verify it. Number two is administrative intelligence. The colonial masters also taught us administrative intelligence. But what did we learn from administrative intelligence? We learned to go get jobs. So Daddy attended UI, and all he strove to do was to get a first class or 2-1, and all he insisted I must do was to get a first class 2-1, and he said, Obinnaya, in 10 years you'll be a professor. I said, sir, I'm not interested in being a professor. What happened was that we all got out of school, and we started searching for jobs. And we ended up with golden handcuffs. And no matter how golden a handcuff is a handcuff, is a handcuff. We made an African, a thoroughbred African, to go sit in an office and wait for salary after 30 days. The implication is that as I speak, not the federal, not the state, nor the other subnational, the local government area, can employ more than 5% of our over 220 million Nigerians. So what we have is a mindset of job creation rather than wealth creation. It has implication for the national economy. So we have people who are looking for jobs. Nobody told us that jobs, and I dare say with every sense of respect, that in Africa, you don't go looking for jobs. You worked for a while. That's why you have the Igbo apprenticeship system, which Harvard Business Review has documented. You have the Igbo boy system, where you learned after 7 years. Your master would free you, and you become a master. But we now sit for 35 years of service or 60 years chronological age and then wait for someone to pay us pension. Nothing bad in it, but I think we should also indigenize that process of growth, personal development growth, a career development growth. Because Miles Monroe said that you should not die on a pension, rather on a passion. What is the passion of the African? In business school in 2012, Enterprise Development Center at Atlantic University, what were we taught? We were taught that in a developing economy, everyone needs at least 7 streams of income to survive. Sir, how many civil servants, how many people of my father's generation, how many people of our generation that were handed the baton handed over to us by your generation, how many of us have 7 streams of income? The Garden of Eden has north, south, east, and west. What does that tell you? In every economy, even if you check the developed economies, people do 2, 3 different jobs, and they invest and so on. That brings me to number 3. The number 3, intelligence. Let me ask you a small question, sir. Were you taught money as a subject in school? No, I'm not. I'm not tracking you. Were you taught money as a subject in school?
So this is tied to the third
yes.
thing.
Yeah, level of intelligence.
Right.
Were you taught money as a subject in school? No. But since you graduated, what is that singular subject that has been harassing your life? Money. You need money to pay school fees, you need money for health issues, you need money for food, you need money for just about anything. Now, it takes you about over 10 years to produce a chartered accountant, if you go through all of the processes. It takes about 13 years to produce a reverend father. It takes over 10 to 14 years to get a doctor that is a professional in different fields, not just an MD. How many years did it take us to graduate? 4 to more years. How come nobody thought it wise to teach us that singular subject, financial intelligence? That's it, number 3. Nobody thought it wise to teach us how to manage money. So I got out of school, first degree, master's degree in my hands, and then with a PhD form in my hands, I'm talking about 1994 thereabouts, and then I get into Lagos, and I went around Marina, Broad Street, just name it. Having been in Abuja, by the time my shoes started eating alignment, I left for Lagos. And when I got to Lagos, I moved through Broad Street, I moved through Marina, combed Lagos, jumping from one motorway to one yellow bus. No jobs.
Okay.
That was when my brain kicked in. And I realized what the Igbo proverb will tell you. The handsomeness of a man is not his face, but his pocket.
Okay.
And critical thinking kicked in. And I'll just tie this up here. Your grandmother, sir, my grandmother, your grandfather, my grandfather, were the ones that satisfied what I was taught in business school. There's what you call backyard economics. Your grandmother had a backyard. In her backyard, sir, multiple streams of income was ogo, tangerine, chicken, cocoyam. She even got a title for owning a cocoyam farm while the husband was Ezeji owning a yam farm. She had spinach. She had scent leaf in Chuang. She had curry. She had just about anything you can think of. She had pepper. So if she needed to cook, she got to her backyard and picked things. But what do we do today? We drive at 180 naira per liter. For how many kilometers to go to Taco Market or go to Carrier Market to go and buy vegetable? What happened to the flower vases in front of our houses? We have poisonous plants as flowers. It's about thinking. As a person thinketh in their heart, so they are.
All right. So these have all combined, you say, to be a sort of drawback to us.
Yes.
But how does that relate to the general picture of patriotism, preferring what your country grows, and patronizing what your country grows, and, stoking the fire of loyalty and commitment and service to country?
Thank you. As I speak to you, sir, we are going into a deeper colonization. And this is not me blaming the white man over 60 years after we got our independence. I know that I studied literature in my first degree, and there's what we call post-colonial colonial disillusionment. You read books like Ayukweyama, fragments, and you read Petals of Love by Gugu Wationgo and so on. They begin to talk to you about that, and then you see The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. That was African Writers Series, and the writers telling you that the people who took over after independence were expected to do certain things. For instance, the white man had a maintenance culture, so not everything about the colonial master was negative. What have we done? Have we maintained the roads they built? Have we maintained infrastructure and all of that? So the orientation is so deep-seated that our educational system has a challenge. I'll give you an example. In September last year, I was invited to speak at the Nigerian-Burundi Business Summit organized by the Nigerian Embassy in Burundi. I think it's Ambassador Elijah Uruagba and Crew with the Burundian government. When I got into the hall to speak, the president was there, the prime minister was there. We had over 200 or more people seated in the hall. The Nigerian delegation was close to 100. So majority of us from Nigeria wore either a red cap or the kind of cap you're wearing, or a Yoruba cap or some other, and we were proud to wear our attires. Now I wanted to check. There was a time that all we did was to wear shirt and tie and suit at 42 degrees centigrade. When I got to Burundi, sir, this is what I saw. I suspect that because the president, being a smart man, smart thinker, he wore a white brocade, which I suspect may have been cut and sewn in Nigeria, which can be done in Aba. The ambassador promotes all of that. But sir, the prime minister, second in command in the country, and majority of the people in the hall wore shirt, tie, suit, and looked more white than the white man. When I stepped forward, I had a walking stick, I had beads on my hand, I had red cap, I had beads on my neck and all of that. And I said, what do you see? You are dressed the way you are dressed. Watch this. I said, majority of you are dressed like the people that colonized you. Where would the seamstresses in your country make money from? There are three things you make money from, Sir Cyril. You have food, health, education. I repeat that. Food, health, education. You cannot go wrong with this. I teach entrepreneurship. You can't go wrong with this in an economy that is prone to depression. Burundi is part of the Lake Tanganyika axis that is 760 kilometers long, 76 kilometers wide. When I left Burundi, a month after, I was invited to, where was that? Kampala. So when I got to Kampala, by 5 p.m., I stepped out to look for food. I searched for restaurants to eat local food. What I saw were cafes that were drinking tea at 5 p.m. And I joined them to drink tea and cappuccino and all of those things. Now, so you can see the mindset. And if you look at our children, I still see us watching one cartoon or the other cartoon and all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. What should we have done? Create our own content, just like NTA is the biggest network. And I've severally come on NTA, whether it's Good Morning Nigeria or Platform or One-on-One or all of the platforms, and I have begged. I said, even if it was 30 minutes program, NTA should do a network program like the one we're doing and begin to reorientate our children. Our children all want to Japa, to France, to Canada, and so on. So, and we too are selling off our assets and packing ourselves to Canada and all of those places. A second missionary journey into colonialism. And we're even the ones selling ourselves. Yes, the economic situation in the country is challenging, but Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. We are the ones that can change our land. Have we told our people that it is patriotic to face what is facing us? Our people say, Aka jaja, wetranu manu manu. Sand, soil, hands beget oily leaves, as in the case of the hardworking farmer. Who built the Canada we're running to? Who built Ottawa, Ontario, and all of those places they are running to? Let me give you an information. What you need to understand, like what people say, bad ground na better ground for native doctor. Any village where people they sick, native doctor get work there. And who is the native doctor? The native doctor was the one that wore the white chalk on his eyes. It was symbolic. It is the same white chalk that the doctors wear white apron in National Hospital. But that white chalk and the white apron tells you that this person is an expert. I see your advert. Your advert says expert in an interview one-on-one with you. Yes. So the doctor wears white. It gives you that confidence that this person must have gone to school, mastered a skill. A skill mastered by someone is better than medicine prepared by a native doctor. So the native doctor has a skill where he observed an older native doctor, a more experienced native doctor. When the mother goat is eating grass, the children look at the mouth. He goes through the herbs, sir. Back to your question. He goes through the shrubs. He goes through the land. They plant certain trees. He knows the shrub that can be squeezed for a pregnant woman to drink. It is called abo in Yoruba land. He knows which one can be mixed with dogoyaro and you can drink for malaria, sir. That's why I have NIPRID. I have all these agencies. The government has over 33 research institutes that are doing different things, agricultural research, where Professor Sharobutu is, and a couple of other people. Sir, we have never been at a loss with regard to building these structures. The question is, have we gone to NIPRID in Idu here to go and find out the researches they have done? Have you gone to Proda Enugu to commercialize the things? Have you gone to IIT Ibadan to see the cassava stems, sir, that can grow just from the stem and that they improve varieties? Do we even consume the things we produce here? You present egusi and apple to your child. It smells. Because we have given the impression that they must go to one eatery somewhere in Highbrow, Usetu, or Victoria Island, and cutlery, and so on. What we are consuming are some of these, how do they call it, synthetic items that have been canned and so on. And then are you surprised we're having health challenges and so on? During your time, your grandfathers, like Nnamdi Azikiwe and so on, at what age did they start adorning spectacles? Look at the palm wine they drank, contained yeast. The bushmeat was fresh. The vegetable was fresh. How many of your grandmothers put things in the freezers? These things also have health implications. If we do not deal with these things and begin to, remember, Jerry Gana said, each one teach one. And remember in training, he said, if you don't teach them, sir, do not blame them. How much reorientation have we done? Are they even listening to the quality of the content that comes out of NTA? They're all on their phones. So how do we get into that digital platform? Because Kiyosaki said, if the phone you're carrying, Robert Kiyosaki, the man that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, if the phone you're carrying does not make you money, throw it away. Can we get into the minds of these children? Because if you get the heart of the people, you can ask for their hands. If you get their heart, you can get their hands. If you get the heart of that girl, you can put a ring in her ring finger. It's about getting into the minds of the next generation. If we don't get into their minds, the colonial masters have won.
All right. These various administrations have promoted the idea of a return to goods and services, locally produced goods and services. And this government is not the least that has promoted that.
Yeah.
And currently, there is a drive towards eating what we grow, consuming what we produce.
Yeah.
What is the best way to achieving that with a people that for many years have developed their taste buds for foreign and imported items?
Okay, sir. I had the privilege of working closely with the Minister of Trade and Investments, and on one of these days I worked in during the time of Hajia Aisha Abubakar, Minister of State for Trade, during the time of Kochukwu Nelama, the substantive minister, and then worked with Adawara Bakari, and a great job being done at the Minister of Trade and Investment. And I sent in a proposal to them. And we started talking about a project we call Project 10, the Entrepreneurial Nation. How do we grow an entrepreneurial nation? It's theory and practice. The government, let me tell you what document I stumbled on in trade and investment. That was when the ministry introduced what they call Executive Order 03. I saw the president sign several executive orders then. This was one of the executive orders he signed. What was Executive Order 03? That if you were the DG of a parastatal, name the parastatal, that you did your best to ensure that 30 to 40% of the procurement in that parastatal, MDA, was locally sourced. The service providers were local. And when I say local, it doesn't mean anything inferior. I'm talking about indigenous, I'm talking about domestic. Then you also set up the local content development board. And you said a percentage of whatever the oil servicing companies and so on would procure would also be local. So we have all the documents, sir. But what I think we need to understand is that what never gets measured never gets done. Today I want to do a contract in any ministry, department, agency. I do contracts. I'm a training consultant. What do? I need to provide my tax clearance. I need to fulfill the Bureau of Public Procurement processes. You need to be sure that at least you have 3 staff and above, that you have done group life and you have done pension for. PENCOM has to certify you. You need to go get ITF certification, Industrial Training Fund. You need to get NSITF. So the government has done a lot and has really made efforts. The question is, how much have we, the followers, taken it and run with it? Who is the government? We are the government. But again, we need to also look at synergy. NTA, National Orientation Agency, Ministry of Information and Culture, if I'm right, that's the name. Communication and Digital Economy. You probably heard the Minister for Digital Economy addressing a press conference, I think it was either on the 26th of January, and saying that there were 66 cyber attacks on the virtual Federal Executive Council meeting. Now, if there was no patriotism, if there was no system, you remember when that ministry changed from just Ministry of Communication to Ministry of Digital Economy and Communication, and then set up structures, and this is, and you know, the challenge we have is that we don't follow up on data. This is a ministry that was not generating to a particular sum, but today a certain audit firm certified that that ministry had generated over 400 billion for the government. Because protection of your digital assets is also critical. So to be fair to government has put in place a lot of structures. I also would be bold enough to tell you that the Yoruba said that when two siblings walk into a room and come out smiling, they have lied to each other. Also be ready to tell the government the truth that there are a few things with regard to monitoring, enforcement that we need to do. This same government, you remember, closed the borders. Why? Because they wanted rice production to go up. Because there was a policy that in November 2015, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under the ministerial superintendency of Minister Audu Ogbe, flew to Kebbi State with the governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, in front of the NTA cameras and other cameras, and launched the Anchor Borrowers Program. That Anchor Borrowers Program ensured that at least 9 states, talking about peer review mechanism, focused on producing rice. So Lagos state government, which the president flew to, I don't know if he has gone there to commission the rice mill there. Yeah. Good. So they didn't just wake up and became, no, they grew. Because of the Anchor Borrowers Program, giving you facts and figures, of 2015 November, with the Central Bank of Nigeria providing the funding and the structures and the supervision under the Development Finance Department, it was launched. And farmers were able to get some funding to grow rice paddy. And then the next thing is that processing came in. And then you had an anchor who now received rice paddies from the outgrowers. So there was an outgrower arrangement that supplied to the mill. And then you now had different brands of rice that were locally produced. Before then, what you and I were eating were rice that had been in the warehouse for over 10 years in Vietnam, Thailand, and a lot of them. We are creating jobs in those countries. These are facts and figures that you can work with. Then Lagos collaborated with Kebbi State and came up with Lake Rice. Do you know the meaning of this acronym? Lagos and Kebbi. And Lagos moved on, sir. I'm talking about actions. 1,000 good intentions are not as good as one action. Lagos moved on and gave an instruction to all local government areas that if you had an ID card as a civil servant, you got this right at a discount. If these are not facts, call Lagos State and confirm these facts. And Lagos moved on and began growing her own rice in Lagos, because Lagos is supposed to be an agrarian, I've forgotten the name you call states that have water around them. Lagos has that stretch of water, stretching from Badagry, stretching all the way to Ebe. I lived there and I know this. Lagos has all of that. And the seaport is there, meaning that you can actually export. It pains me to report to you, sir, that I was sitting and watching the TV. I had cause to train the ex-agitators in Bayelsa, and I was watching TV. And I saw the National Assembly quizzing the executive director at NEPC. And then the question was, how much has been generated by the agency? And the figures we had needed to be more than that. And what is the new thing now? That agency, as I speak, is generating over 70%. Go and check our non-oil income. And if you don't do non-oil, sir, you cannot have a budget of 21.83 trillion. And 12 trillion is deficit. And 9 trillion is income. And about 7 trillion is subsidy. If we do not plug these gaps, we would keep explaining ourselves on what happened to the money that were borrowed from across the world. To be fair, the money that were borrowed is Second Niger Bridge, the dredging of the river Niger, and the East-West Road, and the train that is going to Jigawa and so on. So these are facts you can use to defend the government. But if we are not careful, sir, about plugging these loopholes, you're going to constantly keep defending yourself with regard to how you can have a 12 trillion budget deficit and 9 trillion income. If you use the youth of Nigeria, worked on their mindset, 704 local government areas, 600,000 coppers in 6 batches produced every year by Nigeria. What do you do after 3 weeks orientation? What do we use the corpers to do? Are they making tea and buying granite for you and I in our offices? Or are the corpers implementing the skill acquisition and entrepreneurship development training they got in camp entrepreneurship? Do they have mentors like me, you and I, who teach them media entrepreneurship and I teach them entrepreneurship?
All right. Okay. There's still more to talk about in this matter of reorientation. We'll take a short break here. When we return, there'll be more with Dr. Obinnaya Uruagba. Stay with us.
Weekend File, your Saturday delight, going to places from the obscure to the hinterland and cities, bringing you development stories and perspectives, connecting the people with government and stakeholders on critical issues of our national life.
We are live in Abuja.
It's 9 p.m. every Saturday on the network service of the NTA. Weekend File, you can't afford to miss it.
Why should we be in a difficult situation financially?
Once upon a time we were rich, but we're not a rich country anymore.
Disaster management is everybody's business.
In all these times, the organization turned to Nigeria.
We would as much want to harness the capacity that is within us so that we see how we can become self-reliant.
1 month ended and you said you are increasing warning strike by 2 months. I mean, you are incubating madness.
Even if these are officials of government who have been told to go and enforce the law and they have gone against the law itself, they must be held accountable.
One-on-One, Friday, 10:30 p.m. on NTA Network. Thanks for staying with us. I'm still here with Dr. Obinnaya Uruagba, Public Affairs Analyst, and the matter is about reorientation. Now let me come to you on this. Those who would rather have imported items, goods and services often complain about the quality of locally made, locally produced goods and say, well, the thing is, with poor quality, we can't afford to put our money in it. I'd rather go for something that's of reliable quality. What is the way out of that?
That's a valid concern, and for those of us in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, we've been working on it. But where it's going to have a head is where all of us must join forces. It still goes back to the patriotism you talked about. Let me speak pidgin. Nobody could talk say mama's soup no sweet. You're not going to go out and say I prefer the soup cooked and transcopiated to my mother's soup. Has anybody ever said it? You go to the village and you wash your hands and you dip your hands, take the roasted and put in palm oil. Because it's an emotional connection. Can Nigerians become emotionally connected to Nigeria? Right. We have millions of people in diaspora. You've traveled abroad. So you get into Santon in Joburg, you get into New York and so on. What food do you want to eat? You get that feeling of nostalgia. You want to get that. You know how much you pay a premium to eat all kinds of food. It's because we're here talking this thing. Why do you have Chinese restaurants across the world? Where is Nnewi restaurant in Canada? We're busy looking for Brazilian hair. My cousin came to Nigeria, and I picked him up at the airport. The guy came to my parlor, tall, fine gentleman. This guy was the first draft in New York for basketball. And you know what? The guy told me, he said, sir, I'm not going to sign a contract with a team. I said, why not? He said, why should I be paid a contract when I can own the club? See the mindset of the young man. The guy refused to go higher in school. I said, why are you doing this? You're dropping out. Your father was a PhD holder. I said, what's that? He said, I need to make my own path prosperous. I said, okay, so what are you doing now? The guy said he flew from America to, I believe it was, I think it was China, India. Guess what he went to look for? Human hair. And that was when my eyes were opened that the human hair our women are buying here are cut by some ladies and donated to the temple. And do you know where they are cleaned? They are cleaned in Hong Kong. The guy went further to do his research and found out that there are 2 places where they are majorly consumed. Guess where? Jamaica, where his mother was from, and Africa. And when he came down to Africa to do his feasibility, he found out that the major place where human hair is consumed is Nigeria. So I started asking, why can't we have Newi hair? My in-laws. Why can't we have, if we must have human hair? But I also find out that a lot of our young people, we must give them accolades and credit. When I drive today around Galadima or bus stops, I see young girls who have now started plaiting these ready-made plaited wigs. And they hang it and they hawk it on the streets. Can't we help those young people? And then can we tell our ladies, we're not saying you should not wear your suits and wear your Peruvian hair and the Brazilian hair. And for your information, at which year did we play World Cup in Brazil? An Ebonyi young man, NTA did the documentary on an Ebonyi young man. Go back and check your archives. There was an Ebonyi young man that was, those Brazilian hair, that was packaging them and sending down to Nigeria. And Ebonyi, you found him out when some of your correspondents went to Brazil for the World Cup in Brazil. So I strongly believe that it's about a mindset. If we have that patriotic spirit, if we even have an understanding of what entrepreneurship is, which is my challenge, a lot of the people who work in the civil service, in the public service, who wait to be paid salaries, if they understood that by 4 p.m., you have your own time to yourself, and that you can just sleep like 8 hours in a day and sit up and read. There are 3 things that determine how far you go in life: the books you read, the people you associate with, and the environment you operate in. I'll give you an example of the books. The great Yaradua, who was second in command to Obasanjo at a point, when he was promoted to second in command, what did he do? He realized that he needed to fly around the world. So while airborne, what Sir Umaru Yaradua was doing, I guess it was Shehu Yaradua, that's his own name, was doing was he would get to the library of the vice president of the US or any state country he went to, and he would go to the library and pick a book. Sometimes he got the books as a gift or he bought his books. And while airborne, he read and improved himself. How many people have done a PDP, personal development plan? How many people have a strategic life development plan? Many Nigerians need to be taught that we need to understand the generation that read. But the difference between the generation that read, your generation, my father's generation, was they read to become doctors and professors and stayed in the comfort zone of the campuses and drove the 404s and the 504s GL and GR. They were all comfortable inside the campuses, but unlike Mohammed Yunus, the gentleman, I think the Bangladesh, go look for the book, The Baka to the Poor. He was a professor of economics, but he found that people were going hungry outside the campus. How do we get the wig and gown to have a handshake with the town? How do we get the University of Lagos Akoka to have a handshake with a wire? How do we get to University of Abuja to have a handshake with Giri, where you have onions, you have all of those things that, do you ever worry, sir, cereal? What happens to the onions, the Irish potatoes, and all of those cabbage that you sell around Giri Junction on your way to the airport in Abuja? But there are lecturers whose campus are in front, and you see kids hawking in front. How many lecturers in University of Abuja have gone to get us a fabricated item, which you can get in the Southwest, where we can actually do refrigeration? The next thing you're going to ask me is, what about power? Can the government democratize the power sector? Can we democratize the oil and gas sector so that modular refineries can come up, so that we're not waiting for the foreign refineries that have not given us a single drop in the past how many years? That's why our economy is suffering. Because when they begin to cry, nose go join them. Our inability to fix some of these things has affected us. And if you're a civil servant working in any of this power distribution or any of these power-related, can you do us the singular favor of realizing that when you throw a stone inside the market, it will not only land on a stranger's head, it may land on your mother's head. It's important for us to understand that the project Nigeria is everybody's work. You think I don't want to japa? I have an international passport. The japa I do now is japa 1 week to an African country and I japa back. I also face SAPA because I have school fees to pay. It's increasing every day. I have rent, I have to pay mortgage. So, sir, is it possible that foundationally, can we tell ourselves the truth? We are not a poor country. I can prove it to you, sir. Fact. Number 1, sir. There is a document you need to go call Sir Wale Fasonya, the DG of Smedan, my big brother and my ebon. Ask for what Dube Adelaja, sir, did when she was DG. You should know this better than me, sir. You interviewed her. She left this country with a team that flew to Japan. In Japan, you have prefectures. Prefectures are local government areas. or villages. Abuja Enterprise Agency, when our people were there, had what they call one village, one product. Sir, the origin of that thing is what you call one local government, one product, OLOP, in Smedan. That document is actually called OVOP in Japan. Because every prefecture in Japan, every local government area in Japan has at least one commodity she has comparative advantage on. I challenge you, sir. Onions, Sokoto. I was in Sokoto to train the correctional services, and I asked them a simple question. People are submitting CVs to your inboxes. They said yes. Can we do a deal? Can we have whoever is in charge of the correctional services in Sokoto give us a bag of onions and put it in Sokoto Transport Authority, that blue and white bus, and send it to Owerri prisons, correctional services? Can we have the schools in Owerri under the auspices of the Commissioner for Education in Imo State, 27 local government areas, give you fact and figures? Can we call Adamawa 21 local government areas, Abia State with 17 local government areas? Can we pick the palm oil from Ibeko, my village, and send it to Sokoto? You don't have palm trees in commercial volume in Sokoto, but you have onions, sir. And since your wife has been cooking for you, is there any dish that does not contain onions? But what do we do, sir? Even India sent us a gusi already prepared, packaged, Nigeria. Fact. Check the internet. So we're the ones hurting ourselves. As I sit here, sir, I have a backyard. At least you can see Olubu there. You can see scent leaf there. You can see Ogo there. Whenever it rains or the water comes from the tank, after you forget to put it off, the water nourishes the leaves. So we can actually help ourselves. It is not what you don't have that kills you, sir. It is what you don't do with what you have. The salaries we are paid is not even the problem. Because if by 4 o'clock, 12 of you public servants go to Orange Market and buy a basket of tomatoes and share it equally, sir, you'll find out that the unit price of each measure will be less than the unit price if you went to buy it as retail. Wisdom is profitable to direct. What people talk, so when brother sends passing brother own, they say, now you.
All right, so as we move towards patronizing homemade goods and services, how do we ensure that the generations coming on learn from the experiences and decide not to slide as to require a time when you need another reorientation?
It's just about teaching. Teach a child in the way he should go. When he grows up, he'll not depart from it. It's the things my father taught me. Have you noticed that most times when you are challenging an argument, so my father told me. In our culture, if you were dragging a piece of land, I'm an Ongwa man, land is always a place. Whenever there's an argument and a man says, my father told me, he's ready to swear with that. In the Greek culture, sir, a man like you comes up with a son like me, whom you have drilled, schooled, and so when you pass, greet an elder. When an elder walks into the room, stand up, give up your seat. When you are eating and you finish, go wash your hands, take out your plates, make sure you don't leave the dishes in the sink, wash them. So that's how we're teaching. That's how you were taught. Our fathers woke up at 5 a.m. and made sure that the wives and the children followed to the farm. And when it was time for lunch, they walked before they ate. But now people wake up and the first thing our children want to do is to watch TV. I have a problem with that. And then they're watching TV. The next thing, sir, you give them cornflakes and you give them milk. Now we're having to deal with diabetes. During our time, as I speak to you, go to taco market and go to, those Igbo boys don't eat until they make their first sale. It's cultural, sir. When I went to Burundi, like I told you, my topic was the value of culture in a new education mindset. A is for what? Apple, Abi. Where is the apple tree in Nigeria? You have more apple in Nigeria than apples. You have more akko, that is palm kernel, in Nigeria than apple. Why are we using those expressions? But when you go to Japan, what do they sell to you? Sushi. Has anybody ever given sushi an English name? I have a problem with that. When you speak Yoi Shina Yoi Kangai, they'll keep it at that. Good thinking, good product. When you hear the Toyota production system, go check it. What is Kaizen? Now people go to business school to learn Kaizen. Why can't we leave Akajaja? Why can't we have Akajaja as a curriculum? A Sansoid hands. Let the white man be defining the English version. Why can't we have Namada Jankali? Yes? Sir. there's something called owning your own difference. Own your difference. I accept my Ebotic accent. I accept my red cap. You should accept your cap too. You should accept this. What I'm wearing was made by a fashion designer in Abuja here, C.N. Daniels. I'm proud to wear it.
Well, you just gave him some free advert.
I'm sorry about that, but I can assure you that if I can also get him to pay. How does he pay? Set up a program on NTA. Let me shock you. I was the secretary of the Alumni Association of the Enterprise Development Center. So I came here and I told Sir Wilfred Ewalefo and a couple of people, I've been writing and telling NTA, set up a 30 minutes or 1 hour show like this one. Okay, let me even put it on your doorstep. Let the DG NTA do it. I'm not asking for money for this. And let me give you a list of resource persons that can sit down and explain to you how you can start and consolidate a business. The former question you asked me was issue of packaging. It falls to the doorsteps of NAFDAC. Is it not possible that we can have shared services? 100 entrepreneurs in a building that satisfy the conditions of NAFDAC. Can we even have a NAFDAC desk there so that these young MSMEs, that 39.2 million according to SMED, sir, according to National Bureau of Statistics, 2014 figures, I will give you the document, I have it. These people, sir, are battling with 800 naira diesel per liter. Are battling with fuel queues. But that's not even the challenge. If we did solar panels, sir, there's what you call the Great Green Wall, about 11, 12 states, crisscrossing from the left of Northwest to the end of Northeast, heading up here as I speak. Sir, have you seen the wind energy that crisscrosses Bauchi, Gombe, and Jigawa? Have we harvested it? The sun that hits you and I, don't you know it is energy? As COP27 was happening in Egypt, like Akinwumi Adesina was talking about practically making a case for Africa to be allowed to still use fossil fuels. Didn't you notice that, like our people say, it's only a tree you tell, I'm coming to cut you down, it stands still. Can't you see where the world is going, that the world is going green? That Ruto in Kenya has already said that in the next few years, Kenya is going to hit 93% green economy. What have we done about it? Can we tell every secondary school to plant a tree? How much oxygen do we inhale? All of these things have economic value. All of the things being done in NIPRID and all of the things that Professor Morris was talking about, Bitacola and all of those things, haven't you discussed it on this set? I have watched you consistently from primary school to where I am. What qualifies me to sit on the same stage with you? Because they say when a child washes their hands clean, they dine with the elders. Can we wash the hands of our kids and let them dine with elders like Seristoba? That's where it is, sir. Teach them and stop blaming them. Our youths are not our problem. I, Obinnaya Uruagba, am #1 criminal in this matter. I have not taught enough. We're not talking. A closed mouth is a closed destiny. If we go on NTA and go on all the platforms, go on social media, where's your Facebook page? Where's your Instagram page? Can we go join them where they are? Where's your Twitter handle? Where are all the social media handles? Let's join them there. When the mother goat is eating grass, the children look at the mouth. These children want to learn, but they're learning from the wrong influencers. Who are even these influencers? What are they influencing these children on? Nakedness? Drunkenness? Drug addiction? What happened to us? We didn't hand over the baton to this generation, and we shouldn't blame them, sir.
All right, Dr. Uruagba, as we begin to wind down, you talked about administrative intelligence as one of those areas.
Second point.
Right, that was the second one.
Yeah.
How do we come out of this deficit in administrative intelligence?
Okay, sir. Okay, as I sit here, by the grace of God, I had the privilege of serving on the committee set up by Head of Service Sally. Remember him? It was a review of the training policy of Nigeria. I was delegated by the Center for Management Development to go represent them on that meeting. I remember Haji Habib Alawal, who later became the PAMSEC Ecological Project Office, who is the SA to the President now on projects and monitoring. At the hotel, I raised my hand. He said, yes, young man. And I said, what the civil service of Nigeria has been doing to civil servants is not fair. And so I should explain. And I said, a gentleman goes into service and spends 34 years, 6 months, and that is when we begin to train the person on pre-retirement. I queried it. And I said, at the point when somebody is getting into the civil service, or getting into just about any employment in Nigeria, that is when we should begin to teach the person how to manage their life. What is their educational plan? Many don't have. When I talk about strategic life development plan, you're talking about building capacity. It's about capacity. What makes the he-goat smell is inside him. It's not perfume, you can't wash it off. It's ingrained. At the Greek amphitheater, like I said, you will bring me out your son, Sacerio, and say, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Hear him. What gives you that confidence? Because you have tested me over time. So that is what we need to do. Bureau of Public Service Reforms, I've had course to train on their behalf. Public Service Institute of Nigeria, all of the agencies, Center for Management Development, and all of the agencies you've set up to build the capacity. The Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, all of the agencies, all the over 33 research institutes. Can we all come on board? Can you call a town hall meeting? NTA can organize that. Can we go live and ask everybody to bring their A game on board? Can we, sir, put it on Facebook Live, put it on Twitter? Can we do a Twitter-thon for 24 hours, non-stop? We can organize that. And then can we be hitting these young people's phone and be hitting the young employees in the civil service? Can we set assignments for them? Just 10 questions. You've come in. Can you write a 350-word essay? Is that not what WAEC did to you and I? Can you file it away? Can we have an internal auditor that looks at it? Can we have the human resource or personnel department observe to ensure that these things are followed? Can we have resource persons like you to come teach communication? Can't you teach communication? Sir, what are we doing? Can we bring people to teach, sir, as simple as concise writing? A lot of our young people can no longer spell. Can we set up cooperatives in every school? It's called SBC, school-based cooperatives. Can we, you want patronage of Made in Nigeria? Now, this is me leaking my secrets on air. But no problem. I'm not a native doctor. So I don't have the native doctor mind. I won't die with it. But sir, can we on NTA give an instruction to every local government chairman? And say every local government chairman by 2 p.m. we're going to have a Zoom meeting anchored and moderated by Sir Serious Tover. Keynote address by the DG NTA. And let it be NTA's contribution to say we are going to be beaming all of the knowledge that is needed. Sir, let me shock you. Let's move the onions from Sokoto to Aba. Let's move the palm oil from Aba to Maiduguri. Let's move the mud fish from Maiduguri and from Yola down to Lagos. Let us go to Ketu Mile 12, and let me shock you. If you bring in a trailer load of 911 cows, it will not come down. None of them will come down from the truck. You sell all of them off, I promise you. And they are all in Jigawa. Go and ask Miyetti Allah. Every day, over 6,000 cows die in Lagos. Abattoirs, kebab, suya, and so on. We are not poor. So if we work on the mindset, how do we put more money in the hands of these civil servants talking about? How do we allow them to be comfortable? Look, see how comfortable you are in your skin doing the work you're doing. You've been at this for several years. I met you from primary school. So let me say, is it possible that you become the Larry King of Nigeria and sit on your chair while we make money for you and put it in your compulsory savings account? And I'm not bribing you. What I'm saying is there a skill you have that we can digitize? My people say a traveler is wiser than a gray-haired person. Exposure is where it is. What are we doing to our civil service? So you retired this man at 60 like you retired my father, and daddy had stroke within 2 years of retirement, trying to be an entrepreneur, and I buried him. Is it possible that we can warehouse all of this skill, which is why you send people to the National Institute and you give them MNI? Can we warehouse all of this knowledge? Let me shock you. There's a book you need to go read, The Startup Nation, the story of the Israeli economic miracle. In that book, you see Shimon Peres at the age of 90, hand holding a young person and going for meeting to go and discuss nanotechnology. Half of the software developers in the world are in Israel. I'll give you facts and figures. Go on the internet and confirm. Anyone I say there is a lie, don't call me here again. So can we do that? You have enough resources, you're not using them. No wonder a dog talks, say people get yam, no sabi chop am.
Right, finally, as we round off on this program, for the citizens, that we've always talked about having a new mindset, a reorientation. What would you say to the citizens, ordinary folks like me and all those citizens on the street?
Yes, sir. Seek help. Seek help. See. Best way they ask questions, not the missing way. If you're a teacher, teach well. Is that not what? If you're a cleaner, clean well.
Takes us back to the days of Mamsa then, right?
Good. So, sir, I want to speak like Serious Toba. So I want to apply for mentorship. And I'm ready, no, jokes apart. And I'm ready to pay ₦1 million for it. I teach public speaking, and I'm ready to charge ₦1 million for it. From that ₦1 million, sir, 10% goes to government as what? Tax. 10% goes to the church or to the mosque as zakat or tithe. So you can see how we are creating wealth.
So
what do we need to do?
In
essence, is
the more you develop
teach
the citizens,
have a
and
teachable
develop their
mindset.
capacity,
Yes.
the more you create wealth for the country.
And stop telling them to look for jobs. Have you noticed that these kids are paying $2 to boost their social media pages? Have you noticed that these kids in this campaign era are taking adverts from politicians? So the politicians know that they are relevant. Now the negative part is that some of them have gone into Yahoo Plus and all of that. But of course, wherever you are pressing palm oil, there's nothing you don't eat, yam and so on. So can we harness all of those resources? And let me finally ask the question, can NTA help us? Can the bond help us? Because I know you have their ears. Your mouth is closer to them than my own mouth. Can they create a window? If you need us to have a discussion around this, I've been begging for it, and you don't need me to do it, do it. If you can do one-on-one, sir, you can have a 1-hour entrepreneurship program every week. And in that program, you, sir, even you, sir, can write an assignment and say, okay, just go to that woman in Okare market, collect the ashebi. One of my girls went to Aba and collected 650 pieces of ashebi. Does that girl look like a girl that will stay in Zone 4 to do prostitution? No, she's busy. She's too tired. What did our brother governor do in Lagos? He created horticultural areas around Balogu and all of those places, Fashola. Yes, sir.
Just a quick one as we round up, because you brought up the issue of people being busy and having little or no time for
prostitution,
vices.
drug addiction, and vices.
Right. So for crime, of course, you link this up with the rate of crime.
Yes,
people who have nothing to do,
yes,
and so you envisage that as soon as you get many hands busy,
yes,
the rate of crime and criminal activities in the country would drop.
I donate myself. I invite you to join that camp. We're saying let's have an entrepreneurial nation. We've taken it into Africa. We can take it wider. I'm begging you, sir, in your spare time, you have camera. I can ask you the questions. No, let's reverse roles. I'll ask you questions. I know questions to ask you to keep them busy and they will not get into the streets. Sir, if they have producer, we have trademarks on access to market. We can help sell it. Do you know how many staff you have in NTA? What do they eat? Let's even start from NTA. What do NTA staff eat? Who supplies the food they eat? Where do they buy things? How much is the salary of NTA that you're buying things with people working in oil companies? Is there a way to incentivize NTA staff to bring in a pickup load of plantain from Sabongide or an offload here, and everybody goes home with a head of plantain for plantain chips and so on? But what do you put in the lunch box of your children? Synthetic foods and drinks, and then you have to deal with hospitals. Can we sell them a vision? Start with NTA staff. Start with staff of every MDA. Let's do a collaboration and see whether people will have time for Zone 4 to go and stand for prostitution and have time to go and be buying drugs on the streets. I promise you, if we don't reduce drug addiction by 50%, if you hear my voice again, don't listen to it.
Dr. Obinnaya Uruagba, Public Affairs Analyst, it's been interesting talking to you. I've enjoyed this session, listening to you. We hope you can come again sometime to talk about patriotism, changing the mindset, and reorientation, which everyone always talks about in Nigeria today. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
Right. That's our program today. Well, thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be back with One on One. I'm Cyril Stover. Continue to stay safe.